Hey Dave, how's it going? Good to see you.
Oh, Herman, it's going great. Yeah, you know, nothing went wrong earlier in sound check. Everything was smooth. Yeah, it was great.
Hey everyone, come on. Follow all his channels, Instagram, OnlyFans, all that stuff, YouTube, Twitter. I don't know. Dave, how do you see social media? What's your love, hate, or what's your relationship with social media? How do you see it?
Yeah, I would say it's probably a love-hate, right? Like, I mean, who doesn't like the dopamine, serotonin hit of all those, you know, delicious likes, right? But at the same time, like running like multiple accounts across multiple platforms, and you got to do your personal and then the band, and then I got a couple bands, and it's just like, it's time consuming, you know what I mean? So like just like doing posts and coming up with captions and all that kind of stuff, it's like, man, I just spent like an hour staring at my phone, like reposting things and moving shit around. And I guess I wish I had someone that would do that stuff for me, and I could just focus on like playing guitar. I look at everything through like the lens of guitar playing, right? So it's like, do I have more time to play guitar or less time to play guitar? So I look at the social media stuff maybe as a necessary evil, where it's like, all right, if I spend this time now promoting the record or whatever, things will be going more smoothly. I won't have to worry as much about posting on the socials, a couple months from now, because the ball will be rolling, and then I can spend more time playing guitar. But of course, like in the realm of social media, you're only as good, I guess, as your last post, right? The algorithm like punishes you for not constantly making content. So yeah, it's definitely a love-hate. I mean, I like that I can get my music out there, and I like that I can interact with people. But yeah, it's just, it takes away some, like I haven't like played guitar in like, I feel like a couple of weeks, because it's just been like promoting the stuff that I played guitar on a year ago, right? You know what I mean? I was like playing guitar a ton when I was recording the record. That was like pretty much like all I was doing, just like kind of buried my head in the sand and just all guitar playing all the time. And now I'm like, man, I haven't like really like practiced in, I don't know, I feel like it's been like weeks.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, the reason I'm asking you is because of course you have the new album, the new tour campaign now happening. You just told me the last 2 weeks you've been busy doing the promotion for everything you need for new album and the tour. And this is actually the time where you probably should be spending most time playing the guitar, practicing and rehearsing the songs before tour, right? And
right.
I'm thrown in the same bus, under the bus all the time. It's like, why haven't you finished learning these songs? Well, I have been on a promotion campaign. What do you want me to do? There's a tour kicking off to this album. It's like, we're in this kind of thing where you go, well, I don't want to regret in a few months time that I didn't do enough to do this album, but to promote the album. But then again, you kind of you left the pieces of the social media, because the record label not really going to do that for you.
Oh yeah, and when you have a tour coming up, it's even more work, because different clubs are tagging you in stories, so you want to repost those, and like there's just so many more things you got to keep track of. It's like, okay, you got to make sure you promote the record. If I don't promote the record, the label's like, oh, you got to use this link, make sure you do that. And then it's like, then I have the tour coming up, and the booking agents and the manager are like, well, make sure you promote the tour too. And then, yeah, again, doing it across multiple platforms, like how do you find different ways to say the same thing? You know what I mean? Like it's a lot.
So, all you guys out there, make sure you go check out what's happening, because there's a new album and a new tour. The tour, when is the tour kicking off? It starts in Europe, right? If I remember right.
No, it actually starts in North America. Yeah, so we the European tour comes later. Actually, it is in 2023, so like winter time. Luckily, it like date wise, everything lines up with the new record. So the album comes out September 9th. The first day of the tour is September 9th, and we're also dropping a new music video, I believe, on September 9th. As well. So everything kind of comes out. At least the date is one thing I have to remember.
I gotta say, man, are you still managing? Do you manage the band yourself? What's your role in this whole thing now?
So we have a manager. We're managed by like Unchained Management, Steve. Shout out to our manager, Steve. But I do a lot of things that I guess like a manager would also maybe do. Like I like to be pretty like hands-on. Me and my bass player Brett divvy up the responsibilities like pretty well. He's in his own hell right now, by the way. Like he's programming lights for the tour, and like I don't think he's ever done that before. So I'm just like, all right, man, like good luck, as I have no idea how to do any of that. But yeah, I'll do like the social media campaign stuff. I'll be, hands-on with interacting with the label, interacting with booking agent, and obviously like coordinating with the rest of my bandmates. I come up with all the merch ideas. So like, I'm interacting with our merch company a ton. I'm reaching out directly to artists for the artwork for every single design that you see in our stores. Like I've basically reached out to the artists, DM them, emailed, however I can get in touch with people, came up with the concept, worked it out with them, worked out payment and all that kind of stuff. So it's fun, definitely for me. Like that certain elements of that are fun for me. But again, it takes away from what got me here in the first place, was just playing guitar all the time, writing music. That's the stuff that I like to do the most. But I guess when you write music that you're passionate about, obviously you want people to hear it. So again, it's like one of those necessary evil things where like I have to like, I might as well make the most of it, and I might as well like kind of get into it, because if not, like maybe the promotion for the album will suffer, and then like not as many people will hear all of my all of our collective hard work and all the hours we've put into it and all that stuff.
Yeah, I guess, hey, if fans can see now, if you're buying a Revocation shirt, you are getting the band. It's not just some random person who did all the work. You put your blood and soul in checking the design and finding the artist, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you keeping your vision. So I gotta say, I haven't done any press campaign since 2019 when I last released an album. What's going on these days? Do they still ask the same boring question? What did you do recording this last album? These kind of thing?
You get a lot of the same similar questions. I always prefer interviews that are a little bit more conversational. So for example, not to be a kiss ass here, but I love doing your show, Herman, because it's very conversational. We're just like chatting, like we're playing a psychological warfare with the audience right now, where I'm actually promoting the record, but they don't realize it, right? So I'm sorry guys, but it really is right. Exactly, we're gonna flash things on the screen. No, but seriously, I love chatting with you, and these are the types of things I love doing most, which is like just talking to buds and like having a conversation. And it's a bonus because we're cut from the same cloth, because we're both guitar players, so we can have like that extra added level of bond there. And we're in the same boat in terms of we're both touring musicians, so we can commiserate over a lot of the same things that we gotta do.
Yeah, I feel like we both been to the same hell and back, right, at different times. It's like,
right.
I mean, I'm trying not to be rude about journalists, but I'm kind of dreading about releasing the next DragonForce album and going and answer the same boring questions that I've been answering the last 20 years. What's the difference between this album and the previous album? At that point, you're going to go postal. I mean, how many times can you... And, and you got some journalists that come with generic 10 questions that had asked any artist regardless of anything. There's zero research on it. I mean, I wonder if the horizon have changed a bit, because, from doing YouTube and all this stuff, look, I know the reality of the world now. In order to generate press, we have to create viral content. And these interviews we do of these stuff is completely waste of time for both ends, except maybe some click for whatever channel asking you some generic questions. Right. And somehow, me and you will have to generate some kind of clickbait shit, right, on this conversation, So, don't
this
blame me.
This could be the clickbait right here.
Yeah.
Herman goes off on metal press.
Yeah.
Right?
So what's your feeling about it? Do you get much of those things? Do you hate it as much as me? To answer the same question is like, what do you want me to tell you about difference between this album and the previous album? Do you want me to tell you the same thing? This is heavier and faster. I mean, what are we down to now? I mean, it's the joke, right? I don't know about you. When I used to read press clippings or interviews, you see like Machine Head says this album is heavier and faster. And I'm just like laughing inside. I'm thinking, man, Rod Flynn probably just said that because it's just like, shut the fuck up. What do you think? What do you think I turn into?
Yeah, I mean, luckily, a lot of the interviews I've had this go around have been really good. But I definitely hear you where you're answering like a lot of the same questions. Thankfully, with this record, there actually is something new to talk about when people ask me that question, because during the pandemic, I did. I learned how to record myself, gotten pretty good with like Logic. So all of the guitars, all of the vocals, I tracked myself in a home studio. I engineered all of Brett's bass parts. And we worked with a new producer who mixed and mastered the record, Jens Bogren. So thankfully, there actually is something to say this time around. We're like, oh, there actually is new stuff to talk about. But yeah, when you go from, you recorded the last 3 records with the same producer in the same studio, it's like I didn't play guitar with my feet this time around. Like, it's the same. It's the same exact process, and like, and sometimes I'll just tell them like that. Like, if there really is nothing that changes, I'll just kind of say like, no, it's just it was the same, and then hopefully we can move on to like the next question if there is one. So I try to just like, if there isn't anything, I try not to like come up with shit just to talk about it. I just try to move on to the next question.
So after saying all these things, I better not come up with some shit questions regarding your experience on this album. I'm gonna ask you this one. I'm sure no one have ever asked you. I'm trying my best.
Sure.
So to the fans out there, Jens Bogren is a top producer, right? One of the best in metal out there. Very good reputation. We've done 2 DragonForce albums with him.
Yeah.
What is it like to work with him? Because with me, right, I'll tell you, I used to send the solos in after I recorded it, because I record myself all the time with the DI so he can reamp and the actual signal of my tone. And when he reamped it, I said, I hate it. I don't like the sound that you've done to my guitar. And he goes, right. Well, I don't like your guitar sound. I go, well, that's my tone. Well, I don't want my album that I'm mixing here to sound like different. I said, well, then I just, instead of arguing with him, I just stopped sending him the DI and just send him my tone the way it is. What kind of experience was it for you to work with a guitar, for him, with him?
So I found Jens to be, receptive with the guitar tone. It was a similar situation where I sent him the DIs, and then I also sent him the plug-in tone that I used. I was using like the neural. I think I was using the Gojira plugin for like all of my riffs and all of my solos. Like I basically like kind of tweaked the some of like the artist settings in there for like Joe's tone and like made it my own. So from there, like I just kind of let him do his thing. I said like, hey, here's the sound I was listening to when I was tracking it. But I told him like, it was almost the opposite of you. I was like, don't get too attached to the sound that I'm giving you. I thought it was good, but my whole thing with going with Jens was like, I'm hiring him because I like his guitar tone and his whole vibe, and I gave him a couple records for reference. I gave him some of the Opeth records he's done, and I think like that Bloodbath record, Nightmares Made Flesh, that he did. And I just kind of let him do his thing. And the first tone he sent me, it wasn't like he like nailed it right off the bat. So I was like, hey, can you give me like a few different tones to choose from? And he was pretty receptive. I was like, I think this tone needs a little bit more gain. I think this tone needs maybe like a little bit more definition in the mid range or whatever. And then I think what we ended up doing was we ended up like settling on one tone for the left side and one tone for the right side, and like hearing them together, I was like, oh, this blends like really well. So he did like 3 or 4 different passes of different songs, and that was pretty much it. The only like kind of headache that I had was I had like a very specific. There's one song on the record, "Galleries of Morbid Artistry," that had a like a clean intro, and I had this very kind of specific idea of like how I wanted like the trails of the delay to go. Mm-hmm. So I sent him the DI, and then kind of tried to explain like I wanted it to be like I wanted it to flow like that, and but like fucking explaining that in an email was like next to impossible. So I kept getting things that were close but weren't like quite right with the BPM and everything. So I think what I ended up doing, because I couldn't figure out how to do it myself either with like the delay tones, I was getting close but it wasn't exact. So I actually like just recorded extra trails. Like, so I kind of arpeggiated the chord and put it like where I wanted it. And I was just like, make this sound like delayed or whatever, right? Like, like give it like that, like almost like tape echo effect where it's like, it's, you know, quieter and maybe like the tone of it's like a little degraded sounding. So we kind of cheated it that way, but it wasn't like his fault per se. It was more just like, cause like I said, I couldn't get that delay the way I wanted it either. I figured like, oh, he could figure it out with some kind of weird algorithm or math equation. But it proved to be a little bit difficult. So that was the one thing where I had to kind of go back and like towards like the end of the mixing session and actually like give him more files.
Said, is this the first time you actually recorded the guitars yourself, right, with Logic on this album?
Yep.
Do you feel like it's better, or it just gave you too much time that you cannot make a decision and drives you more insane? What was the experience like moving from someone else recording you, where you probably thought, nah, that wasn't good enough, and they would say, that's good enough, right? And to now you're the boss and you're like thinking, well, that's never good enough. What's your mentality like? Are you as crazy as me? Or
Yeah, no, it was probably crazy as you, Herman, if not more so. Yeah, I mean, I drove myself insane recording this new record because it was like, well, first of all, it was my first time ever taking on an endeavor like that. So already I was like paranoid that I was gonna like fuck something up like the whole time, you know, like I'm like, oh shit, like I gotta make sure, I'm like constantly double checking to make sure my levels are right. I mean, the audience, you know, doesn't know the Herman had to be like my tech IT guy, like to get just this Zoom call happening before this. So it was like, he probably normally only takes like 5 minutes with most people. This was like an hour and a half, like slog to get just my audio working so that we could come here and do this today. So again, thank you, Herman, for your patience. But yeah, like there's so many things to keep track of when you're recording, and it's not just like, oh, I'm doing a guest solo, or like, oh, I'm laying down some guitar tracks for one song, like file management and like all these different things. I had certain situations happen where just for whatever reason, there was some ghost in the machine type shit going on where I went to record a part, recorded it, saved it, and then came back, and then the guitar parts were just gone. And I had to like go back in and like re-record them. And even just like, I didn't realize you could auto punch in Logic until like basically the recording was like almost done. So I was like looping things in really weird ways, and I definitely created more work for myself. And then that's not even getting into the whole quagmire of how many takes you're doing over and over again. Cause yeah, you don't have that impartial person being like, no, that was a good take. Like we can move on. Like I'll like pick it apart and hear like the smallest thing, not even thinking like, well, it's going to be in the mix and there's all these, you know, other factors happening. And, you know, if you really need to, you could chop a piece from somewhere else and kind of scoot it in. Like, I don't know how to do that stuff. So I just had to kind of like make sure luckily with Logic, you can do the auto record function is cool because it gives you like take folders, and you can, I think it's called like swipe and comp. So you can literally like record the same riff like however many times you want and just sort of slide it around and kind of comp together different takes. So that was helpful, but it was also a pain in the ass because I drove myself crazy, like hearing certain things in my head. But the good side of it, actually, let me talk about one more bad thing first. Like I kept having my flow get derailed. because like anything that would go wrong, like I'm sure like a producer that's worked on 100 albums like knows instantly how to troubleshoot it, and like, oh, I've seen this before, I just gotta, you know, whatever. Like sometimes it's as simple as like you gotta just save and reboot, right? But for me, like, oh my god, it was like I had to go back to the drawing board like every time. I had to like phone a friend, you know, call producer friends of mine, or like look up like YouTube tutorials on how to fix this random issue I was having. So that was like a huge headache and kind of kept taking me out of the experience of recording, because I'd be like warmed up and ready to go, and then, oh great, now I got to spend a fucking hour trying to figure out what's going wrong in this particular session here. You know, my bass player wanted 5 different DI tones. You know, it's like 5 different bass tracks rather than just the one that I send out. You know, so many things to keep track of. Anyway, the good thing about it was I feel like I got to be really creative in the studio, because I didn't have that like that feeling of someone breathing down my neck or that clock ticking. So I was like trying to get experimental on some of the harmonies, doing like weird counterpoint things, not just saying like, oh, well, I'll throw a diatonic third on it and kind of be done for the day. It was like, all right, well, let me try it with thirds, and then I'll try with fifths, and then let me try with fourths. Okay, and now here's like a combination of thirds and fourths and fifths, and just try to like, again, either like with the swipe comping of Logic, or just like actually just physically like recording it. I was able to come up with some pretty cool harmonies that just sounded like super gnarly or like interesting, and had like cool counterpoint things happening. It wasn't just like a classic like just slap a diatonic third on it and call it at the end of the day. And then for the solos, that was totally new for me, because normally, again, you know, you're going to the studio, time is money, all that shit. So I kind of write the solos like way in advance, or a month in advance, let's say, and maybe I leave like 5 to 10% up to how I'm going to do it in the studio. This, I didn't write any of the solos at all. I had like the whole thing kind of done and recorded, and then I just kind of spent a week like essentially like pre-proing stuff and like recording it as I was going. So that was a different process for me, but I thought it was kind of cool. It made me feel like almost more of like a, I don't know, like a session musician or something like that. Like, all right, you're coming into the studio and you don't have anything prepared and you got to make something happen. So it was like a little bit of pressure, right? But at the same time, it was like kind of like a safe space, let's call it, where like, I knew I wasn't just like burning thousands of dollars, and I'm just like sitting in my bedroom at the end of the day. And I was able to pay myself. So like that was kind of cool. Like we actually used like part of the recording budget to like, because normally it's just like, all right, well, I'm not getting paid for this and I can't work or do anything else. So you just like take a financial hit for like the month or 2 months that you're like in the studio with somebody else. I mean, I'm sure bands that like have like, you know, a ton of dough in the bank can like give themselves like a per diem or something like that. But, you know, for us, it was like not having toured and COVID and all that kind of stuff. It was like, we didn't have like, we weren't sitting on like a ton of extra change. So it felt good that I could go in and you know, take on these other roles, but also like get paid for my time for the first time like ever recording in Revocation.
Yeah, that is cool. It's good to know about that. And I share a similar experience with you. And I remember when I was like, you know, I started recording since our first album. I recorded all the stuff myself. I guess I did the rhythm guitar on the first album in the studio, but like after work, I would drive to the studio and do a few hours, right? After my day job on the first album. And you feel like there's just money just going down the toilet as you miss. Every time you miss a solo or take, it's just like just flushing down the money. And back then we had no money. Yeah, that's why we got a record deal. You know, if I had 50K sitting around, I won't get a record deal. You know, I'll record it myself. But yeah, it definitely removed that pressure, and you got a different pressure. You got different kind of problems, right? But I feel like at the end you're gonna get a better result. It's harder work to do it yourself, but you pretty much can fix everything, right? You can just go back. You know, I'm do this again. It doesn't sound good. Studio is gone, and they always say gotta move on, gotta finish the album, gotta finish the deadline, blah 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 blah. And I feel like the studio guy can hear the imperfection. No, they can't hear the imperfection, so you can move on quicker. But to solve that problem, when I record myself, I just put the drums and the demo vocals on. It's like, oh, sounds perfect. you know?
Right.
Because you hear the guitar in isolation with the click or something, you go, oh my God, I'm a horrible guitar player.
Right. Yeah, I've had those moments too. I'm like banging my head against the wall, like, why do I suck? But yeah, it does feel good. I feel like I walked away from that session with just like a totally newfound skill. And now that I've done it and made it through kind of like, what would probably be the hardest trial by fire there is to do a full length. I mean, I didn't record the drums because fuck that. I'm not even, I don't have the space or anything like that. But like with guitars, my vocals, Brett's bass parts, I feel like I got like the best vocal performance I've ever gotten on this new record. And I've had experience recording my guitars before, but like never with vocals. And like I just kind of figured it out. And it's like, okay, this isn't that hard. Like it's just don't touch the level like once you get it right, or mark it off if you're doing different screams. Cause like if I'm doing a low scream versus like a high scream, it might be versus like maybe like a mid-range kind of bark, it might be slightly different in terms of like the gain you got to set. But like other than that, like yeah, I feel like I walked out of that whole process like, damn, this is cool. Like, and now I'm never gonna go back into a studio ever again. Like unless the budget's like crazy, or I'm recording for somebody else's project and they have a studio and they want me to come in, like hell no, I'm doing everything myself and I'm just gonna be the captain of that ship. And it can't be harder than this last time, so it's got to all be downhill from here.
I'm sorry to tell you, it doesn't actually get easier, because by then you have released more albums, and it's right. Like, oh shit, have I done this before on the previous album? Right. But that's the good thing. You gotta overcome challenges, right? There's some of these challenges you cannot do at the studio. Right. Just like, what, I've done this before. I gotta find a new way of doing this. So what's the vocals recording like? What's the most beneficial for you to record the vocals yourself? You get more takes? What?
I don't know. I guess I just like to be recording in general for me. Like, I don't know. It's kind of nice, like not having anyone around. Like I kind of just like to be in my zone. Like live is live. You're feeling the energy of the crowd. You're moving through it. Like, if I biff something in a solo or like, make a little mistake here and there, like, I mean, we're not stopping the song. Like we're still going on. But when you're under that like intense scrutiny of the studio and that magnifying glass, any little thing, sometimes it's hard to get comfortable, I guess is what I'm saying. And, guitar playing is one thing, but the vocals, I don't know, it's just because it's coming from, there's no instrument there. There's no like go between. It's just all coming from me. So maybe it kind of takes it's a little bit weird to like get into that, like, I don't know, that comfort zone when someone else is there. Not that I feel embarrassed per se, but it's like, I don't feel maybe like it takes me long. I can get the takes that I need with someone there. Obviously I did it for the last 7 records, but it's more like, yeah, I don't know. I think it's nice having just myself there, and I can really just try different things. If I make a mistake, like, because sometimes like I'll try different things vocally, like knowing that they're not going to work, but I just want to like try it. So then rather than hear someone say like, oh, that doesn't sound good, it's like, I know, I'm just trying different things out to try them out. Like, because my bass player initially, like, because he does recording and he's done a couple other records before, like nothing like, you know, crazy for like major labels or anything like that. It was more like his other projects, but he has some recording chops, but he's on Pro Tools, so he kind of like, you know, learned Logic a little bit, or I kind of showed him, and he offered to record my vocals. And like after like a day, I was like, you know what, like I think I just would rather just do it myself and just have fewer cooks in the kitchen. And even with certain things, like, you know, it's like, oh, you need to do that again. But I'm like, well, no, I'm gonna, like, knowing in my mind, like I'm gonna double that, right? Or I'm gonna, like, that's just one, like that was a high scream, but that's not gonna, I'm just doing the high scream first. I'm gonna do a low scream after that, and that's what I want to be the main vocal. Mm-hmm. And the high scream is just kind of tucked underneath to create some gnarly like texture, like on like an old like Deicide record or something like that, you know? So like all that shit I have in my mind already planned out. Like, so how could someone else know that? So I feel like it takes time to have to like explain ideas and go through that, and, you know, no, this is the vision for the part. So I'd rather just hit it. So yeah, it was a little bit nerve-wracking at first because I'd never done it before. But yeah, once I got used to recording the vocals, I was like super stoked to record vocals. Are you when you record, are you one of those singers that go, or you just kind of calm and just do your part standing still, or you punching, going that kind of guy? That's a good question. I think I'm usually like holding my cans, you know, maybe like more pressed into my ears or whatever, or like sometimes I'd have like the lyric notebook, right? You know, be holding it like, rather than putting it on a stand. Like, I don't know, like maybe I feel like I had more of a connection to it. I think it just kind of depends. But I wasn't fucking, you know, doing a YouTube cover like performance sort of thing where I'm like hamming it up or anything like that. Well, if there is a video later on YouTube of you doing a song, then we know you're lying then. That was it. That's right. You're pretending, going back in time. Right. You know what? This conversation never happened. So you know what? We gotta do it if possible. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of funny. Sometimes I see I mean, kind of off the topic, I see guitar videos, you know, like music videos where people are standing still in the music video. They're not going. I'm thinking, well, this is your chance. You don't have to play it for people to hear. Those all look cool while doing it. Right. Right. Oh yeah, I went ham in the Diabolical Majesty video, and like, you know, I felt like I was playing parts right, but you know, if I was like off by a half step or whatever, like didn't even realize it, like no one's gonna know. Kind of a dumb question I'm gonna ask, but obviously you're gonna play new songs, you're gonna play the old songs and stuff, but it sounds like you're gonna up your production because you got your bass player doing the lights and programming into MIDI to synchronize with fucking all the effects and everything. Is that something that's happening? We expect a big production on this tour? Yeah, so for maybe those of you guys who've seen us, I should say, on our last headline tour in the US, we did a co-headliner with Voivod, and we actually brought out like a pretty damn good light show on that one as well. So, you know, if you remember that, and like the production value, we're definitely bringing that same level, if not more so, to our current live setup. You know, we got the new banner with the artwork. We're gonna have like the new material, obviously, the lights. I mean, just the whole package in general on this upcoming tour, I think, is like really, really killer. So yeah, just all across the board, it's gonna be an awesome show. I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, it's like, I think like certain bands have proven that you gotta up your production. Look at something like Parkway Drive, for example.
Right.
You would say, well, you know, people go and see it because there's, apart from the music, or they want to see the production, there's some kind of element into it. I think we all like in this space where the costs have gone down in terms of having a more production and lights and cool stuff, and sounds like you automating stuff. You can make stuff that is going to come in perfectly on time with the show. It's going to make more impact to the songs, right?
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. And you guys don't really take any production out, right?
Oh, we take everything now. You know, it's like we're like completely, we're like stuck. You can never have less. Do you know what I mean?
I know. I'm fucking around because I know your guys' show is like crazy. There's like I've seen the footage and stuff. It's like super entertaining with like the lights and like I know you guys had like a video game kind of theme, right? On the last one, that looked super cool. It was like, I don't know, it just like looked like a crazy like arcade game like come to life or something.
Yeah, giant arcade machine, video screen, modular video screen, so they go bigger and smaller, depends on the venue. Right. I mean, I do the dirty work for that. I do all the programming for the screen.
Oh, you do that. Oh, so okay, so yeah. I'll send my bass player your way if he needs any pointers on anything.
It is pretty brutal. And you know, once you, I mean, we bought the screen. Once you bought the screen, it's like, well, you gotta use it, and
right.
And the videos get better and better. You know, in the beginning, it was just like different backdrop, static count, you know, static image. Now that every song have moving animated images, it takes years, right? Because we don't have, we don't have like a, how they say, a production company where we can pay them, I don't know how many $100,000 to make a full-on arena production.
Right. And then like I always like, I mean, even some of those like old school early like Metallica stage setups where it was like almost like animatronic shit on stage, or they had like the crazy drum riser with like the staircases. I remember watching like old videos of like Guns N' Roses when they played like Japan and stuff, and it was just like this like literally built this like massive multi-tiered thing. I mean, other bands like I feel like Merciful Fate and like King Diamond do that to an extent too. You know, I would love to have something like that because I just think it's so freaking cool. But like obviously you gotta be, you know, playing like really big stages in order to get away with that type of production. But you know, it's baby steps. I think we probably have like a similar attitude in terms of like the aesthetic, where it's like, all right, we went out last time, like, and we did it up big, so you know we can't go backwards. We gotta just keep making it bigger and bigger and bigger and add more shit in there. I mean, I was trying to think about like things we could do like on this one, even with like programming of the lights slightly differently, linking up with certain hit sections. You know, like Meshuggah is a huge inspiration in that regard. Like their lighting guy is just like such a pro. And you know, when you watch a Meshuggah show, I mean, I could imagine like not even being a metal fan and someone like dragging me to that and be like, come on, like, you know, let me take you to like your first like really heavy metal show, and like probably like walking away a fan like for the light show alone. You know what I mean? It's just like, when you have that visual element to it, like linked up with the music, and it's that razor sharp and tight, I don't know. I just think it's like super powerful.
You know, every album you gotta prep that production as well. Now there's just more and more work to do. I'm
gonna put that on Brett's plate. I'm like, dude, we gotta go even bigger next time. We gotta put you in a full animatronic suit on stage and, you know, do some crazy pyrotechnics, and I'll be on some kind of weird levitating platform. We got plans, Herman. We got plans.
But no, seriously though, because you play a heavier kind of music, right? It's not, it's not, how do you say? Let's say, do you feel like you might have less room to do crazy production stuff like what you just talked? Would you do this kind of crazy stuff? Do you think it will fit into that kind of aggressive style, that kind of music?
So like hypothetically speaking, like we like blow up like 10 times bigger and we're able to play on those types of stages. Because like obviously like if you're doing like a smaller club, like I mean even like a 500 cap room isn't like considered like super big, like, but I mean you get 500 people there and it feels awesome, but it's not like a 2,000 or 5,000 seat like amphitheater or something like that. So like hypothetically speaking, let's say I don't know what my OnlyFans really takes off, and we become massive, right? And we're playing like Pantera style like stadium venues or whatever. I think it would be cool to do something like that. Maybe like we'd have to figure out how to make it work with like our like aesthetic, of course, but I mean I think of Meshuggah as a super like heavy brutal band, and like their light show is super cool, like almost like those old like Testament shows from like back in the day when they had those like multiple, actually they still doing it, or again Merciful Fate, like some of the videos I've seen from those shows like have looked so cool. I think Ghost does an incredible production, and like they managed to keep it creepy. So like doing something like that, but maybe like with like a little bit more of an edge to it. I mean, even seeing like what Slayer did on like their farewell tour, and even before then, they had like crazy like upside down crosses coming from the ceiling and like multiple banner drops. It wasn't like they had like, it wasn't like a Gwar show where there's like multiple characters coming out, and I love Gwar too though. I think that shit's sick as fuck, but like there's different like lore for each band, right? So it's like it's one of those things where like like Iron Maiden has like Eddie comes out in various forms, so like they have like characters that are like part of, or Vic Rattlehead from Megadeth, right? There's like characters that are associated with the band, which we don't really have, so it probably wouldn't be something like that. At least attempting it, like even if it's just like pyro, like just crazy, super high like flames. Like I don't know, how is that not so awesome? Like in like a perfect world, I'm like envisioning it now. Like it's like we set up our stage and it literally looks like this kind of cavernous circle of hell that was like carved out, right? Because the new record's like very hellish, and it's got that infernal theme to it. So like crazy banner, maybe we do multiple banner drops. We got like side fills, crazy weird multi-tiered thing with like staircases, drums are up top, and it just like looks like, I don't know, like Satan's throne or something. And then we got like just like pyro going off, and maybe some weird like creepy like wrought iron gates on either side. I don't know, that would be sick. And then maybe some kind of hydraulic thing. I think that would work, so we just need to sell about 10,000 more tickets a night, and we can do that. So this is the first step.
You never know what happens. It's true. So the fans out there, if you want to see that, you know what to do. Get your ticket. The next tour becomes even better. Your favorite band makes sicker production, but it's kind of up to the fans in a certain way, right?
Oh, for sure. And we're a band like, I mean, thankfully we can finally get to the point where we can like, pay ourselves money at the end of like a tour, but we constantly reinvest. I mean, we're always going back in, whether it's the merch designs, whether it's, all these lights we bought ourselves, we didn't buy it with Chuck E. Cheese tokens, right? We bought it with the money that we made off of going on tour and the road. So certainly, we're not like one of those bands that just like doesn't reinvest into our band business, whether it's the merchandise or the stage show. We definitely put it back in.
Anything new on the guitar front? You bringing in new guitars, any pickups, any kind of new stuff when it comes to tone? You doing any kind of changes on this album and the tour?
Yes, a lot of new stuff. I can actually show them off right now. So
Nice.
Jackson Warrior, 7-string, Ferrari Red. So my very first Jackson was a Warrior, and it was in Ferrari Red. It was a 6-string because they didn't make 7-string Warriors back then. They probably barely made 7-string, guitars or whatever. This is, I'm dating myself now. But anyway, so this is essentially kind of my ode to my original Jackson Warrior that I got. My parents bought it for me for a graduation present. It was a USA model. Like, I was in love with the guitar. Still have that guitar. Beautiful instrument, but this was the updated signature model from it. Now, my last few signature models, for maybe some of those that are familiar or people that aren't familiar, I went with much more of a natural wood finish. I don't know, I guess I just wanted to completely change it up. I did like a stained woods and roasted ash Warrior, kept it really kind of classy, and I'm like, I want to come out the gate. It's the pandemic, everyone was like cooped up, like I want to come out and kind of strut my tail feathers a little bit and really just kind of peacock it out. So this is the Ferrari Red, just gorgeous. I've got 5-piece neck on it. It's got like lumen lace side dots, and it has a new signature pickup, because this guitar is actually it's instead of 25.5, it's 26.5 inch scale length. That was sort of one thing I learned, playing those 25.5 inch scale lengths for a little while. Like, they're great, and I think the feel of them is great. But just certain things, like I think like tuning stability. This is when you're going with those 7 strings, we're tuning down like a half step lower too, don't forget. So like that extra little bit of slack there, like just gets like tightened up, I think, and the low end just is a little bit more, it just feels like just like a little bit more solid when you have like the longer scale. And it sounds a little bit different too. So I had to use a different pickup because my Imperiums from DiMarzio, I really had dialed in for that 25.5 inch scale length. I had them in this guitar, they sounded fine, but I just kind of felt like, I don't know, they sounded like a little bit better in the 25.5 inch scale. So I approached Larry DiMarzio and the DiMarzio team. I'm like, hey, can we revisit this thing and maybe, do like an Imperium too? And they were like, yeah, like let's just do a whole new signature set for you. So I came up with the title, a cult classic for these pickups. So these are really dialed in for a 26.5 inch scale, kind of goes with the occult classic name, goes with the theme of like the occult and all that stuff on the new record. So yeah, I got the occult classic bridge, occult classic neck. I think they sound just fantastic. Like I said, the Imperium sounded great, but I wanted to kind of, with a new guitar, new scale length, new record, I feel like, let's just come out the gate guns blazing and kind of revamp everything. So that's this guitar. And I twisted the arm of Jackson a little bit and said like, all right, well, if we're gonna do a Ferrari Red, we might as well do like a Lamborghini yellow. So this is the Lambo Yellow. It's got the reverse headstock. Again, it's here again with the 5-piece neck. Obviously, this one's got a maple fingerboard. I just think that maple neck looks super cool. I remember like years ago, I think I was recording like one of our first records. It might have even been like Empire of the Obscene. We recorded a lot of that record at Ken Susi from like Unearth's studio, like out in like Western Massachusetts. Mm-hmm. And he had like, a bunch of guitars around. It's a studio, so there's just kind of shit like strewn about. And there was like some like Ibanez case. And I'm like, let me check what's in here. And there was like this like killer, like, it's like essentially like, I don't know what the model name would be, but it's like a super strat body shape, like, kind of soloist shape or whatever. But it was an Ibanez, and it was like yellow, and it had a maple fretboard, and just, again, this was like years and years ago, but that always just stuck with me. I'm like, oh, that looks so cool with the maple and the yellow. I don't know what it is about that combo. So obviously, maple, different wood, a little bit of a different feel, probably a little bit of a different tone too. I mean, of course, I'm sure in something like that you could EQ whichever way you want, like at the end of the day, but it has a bit more of just a different kind of tone to it. But yeah, I love this guitar. I love both of them. I've been just kind of basically alternating every night when we did our tour with Cannibal Corpse. So I'm stoked to be bringing these bad boys out on the road. And as far as I know, they're all sold out. It was one of those kind of dealer events because these are all custom shop models. So I've had a lot of people ask me on my Instagram. I've made posts about it, but I'll say it here as well. We're in talks about doing a Pro Series more affordable run because, you know, most people can't afford to buy the top, you know, shelf master built model. So hopefully sometime, you know, next year or something like that, we'll be coming out with like a Pro Series model. But supply chain is obviously an issue with a lot of things, and so it's not as easy just to get like a prototype built like that. So I haven't even gotten a prototype yet, but as soon as I do, I'm pushing Jackson in the right direction. I'm like, these people are hitting me up. We gotta give them the Pro Series model. I gotta give the people what they want. So hopefully we'll be getting the USA models out to folks soon, and then the Pro Series model is going to be slightly different to set them apart from this, but it's gonna be similar in a lot of ways in terms of like the look and feel of them. So anyway, those are my two signature guitars, along with the DiMarzio signature cult classic pickups. Definitely check out those pickups; they sound killer. And then I have a signature guitar pedal. Actually, hold on one second here.
Those colors are super cool, by the way. They're great combo. I like how it's, you know, it's grabbing. You know, people look at you when you have a guitar like that on stage.
Oh yeah. And you know, for the shape too, right? I mean, the shape is very eye-catching. But anyway, I also have a signature pedal that was basically discontinued because the company I was working with Dunnable Guitars. Shout out to Sasha from Intronaut, amazing luthier, great dude. He had a pedal portion to his business for a while, and I think during the pandemic he essentially kind of phased that out and was like, I'm just gonna like work on guitars and like just focus my efforts towards that. So kind of at a crossroads where I was like, I don't know if I should just discontinue the Eidolon, but I'm really passionate about that pedal. I think it's a great, unique piece of gear. So, I mean, obviously I'm biased because it's got my name on it, but like I really did feel like it was something that the market was missing. So rather than just kind of let that dream kind of die, I hit up a few different people, and I can't make this announcement yet officially, but we found a new home for the Eidolon. I haven't gotten the prototype yet, but I think fingers crossed everything's going to work out. Again, it's supply chain issue things that are holding it up. But if all goes well, hopefully like in the next few months, prototype and all that will be done, and we'll actually be bringing it to market pretty soon. So I found like a really awesome boutique company that just does pedals, that the owner of that company and main builder was super passionate about the Eidolon when I brought it to him, and he was like really excited to work on it. So it wasn't like I had to pitch it to someone, and it was nice to be able to be like link up and like you kind of a kindred spirit, and you're on like the same page as far as like gear goes. So hopefully everything will move forward with that. So if you're looking for the Eidolon, check back around in a couple of months. There should be some news regarding that.
It's been pretty crazy, right? You know, there's so many guitars during the pandemic, and obviously the sales have so slowed down, and it's harder to get, you know, the supplies, and guitars are just going up in prices soon, and you know, the economy is going in a strange direction. Funny enough, I think the Stranger Things, you know, how they, you know, Metallica, the whole thing, Master Puppet song, it actually got a lot of people back into guitars again. You know, they've never seen a metal shaped guitar before until the Stranger Things TV show. So I think guitars is kind of like, we had our bumps and up and downs, but I think it's last couple of years been pretty good for, I think, in the world of guitars.
Yeah, I hope you know, just instruments in general never get replaced by some type of digital new toy that comes out. Like I want to believe that there'll always be, like with painting, right? Like I mean, I digital art's cool and like it's great and you can do different things with it, but as an art fan, I wanna hope and believe that there'll always be someone with just a canvas somewhere with painting with oil or watercolor or what have you, and just having that expression and not having any kind of third party interface or whatever. I mean, obviously with electric guitar, there's some element of electricity and, you know, technology there, but it still does feel much more analog than, say, like, you know, I'm going into a DAW and just making everything completely in the box there. I don't know. It just feels like, you know, and that's no shade to like musicians that make music that way. It's just a different thing. And I think for me, like the music that I love to listen to the most is, you know, just people in a room playing through amps, hitting real drums. I hope that always is society, because who knows where it's going. There we go. There's the shred.
We did it. We did it. Woo, fingers falling off. Hey, chat. Thank you so much, you guys, for coming to hang. And Dave, thank you so much for coming to hang with us here on Twitch and taking your time, play the guitar with us.
Oh, it's my pleasure jamming with you, man. That was great. And thanks to the chat. You know, you guys kept us going. All the emojis, all the comments. It's like, you know, it feels like you guys are in the room with us. So we appreciate all the positivity in there. Thank you so much again, Herman, for having me on.
Thank you. And of course, your new album is out in September the 8th.
September 9th.
9th. Ah, one day wrong. And the tour kicks off at the same time, right? So
exactly. North American tour. This is that psychological warfare I was talking about. So we did all that just so I could plug the record at the end, right? But yeah, the new record, Netherheaven, September 9th. We're going on tour, North America. We're playing a bunch of shows in the US and Canada. Please come out and see us. If you're in Europe, we'll be playing a headline tour in Europe as well in the wintertime. Yeah, check out the new single, Recrucified. We also put out a music video for Diabolical Majesty. So a whole lot of stuff happening in the Revocation camp right now. Please go check it out. And thank you guys for all of your support again. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, everybody. Hey, if you like this video here on YouTube, make sure you hit the like button. Check out the links to the new Revocation album and their channels. Go check it out in the description. I'll see you on the next video. All right, catch you guys later. Bye.